Hey, YouTube. Let's look at various ways that we can enhance our kits by incorporating an emergency fishing kit, or any kind of kit in particular to help procure food, especially from water sources, large bodies of waters. It could be ponds, streams, lakes. It could be rivers, or even the ocean for that matter. But we're just going to reference from this survival manual here from the Army's field manual, the FM 21-76 manual, and just to get a few ideas of different things to put into your emergency fishing kit. For one thing is, if you don't even have a kit though, and this is where we're going to start, you're going to have to make one from natural materials. Here's a picture here of using a bone. If you could find a carcass and you can break down, especially if you have a knife, which would be a really good thing to have to help whittle down the bone and make a tip there. And you can lash it with vines, or if you had cording, it would be very good. Also, nails. There's another image there of nails. You could also use pieces of glass or anything that you could find, maybe even scrap metal if that was even available in your area. Here's another picture here of using wood and splinters. You can just splinter off wood for that to help, kind of makeshift yourself something to fish with and so forth. There's other different techniques too. Even using like a bobby pin, maybe like a safety pin. You could even bend a nail if you had to. If you have wire, just scrap wire around. Even using a knife, especially if it was a smaller pocket knife. But if you were fishing for a large fish, you could go with a larger knife. But this would probably be better maybe for much larger creatures. If you do have a hook, you could wrap it around and use a quarter or a rock as a sinker, as well as a shell to camouflage also the hook. And over here we have thorns and even hangers, picture hangers used to make hooks. And so these are just different ideas. Down here is an improvised grapple. So you can just do a lot of things with a little bit of ingenuity. Now if that's of course if you didn't have anything, but if you had the forethought to make a kit or to add this into your bug out bag, or maybe it's just a camping bag, or if you're going out hiking or something, and you're going really far into the woods, and there's definitely that there's bodies of water that you could use in an emergency. They do have fish. You might want to have an EFK, emergency fishing kit. I'm not going to get into like all the details of what you should have in there, but it's pretty common sense. Some fishing line. I'd probably have at least somewhere between a 20 to 40 pound test, just to kind of cover all your bases. And then maybe a couple hooks. Obviously, I'd probably go with more than just a couple. But I'd do like maybe 3 or 4 smalls, 3 or 4 mediums, 3 or 4 large. They don't take much room up at all. Some little swivel chains, maybe a couple of sinkers, maybe 4 or 5 sinkers, different size and weights. A couple, maybe some bobbers. If not, you can just makeshift some of that if you had to. Maybe out of foam if you had it, or that part right there is the hardest for these smaller kits to put bobbers, but they do make the really small bobbers, and that's what I have in here. And then of course, you have artificial baits. And spoons and just different things. So that's up to you depending on where you live, what kind of artificial baits and stuff to get, or you can try to source that in real time at your site. Now, this is a little bit larger than a standard Altoids tin, as you can see, and it's pretty much comparable in width. Just maybe even a little. Well, it's pretty much the same, I'd say, but you can just use whatever container you have, is what I'm saying. I even use this sometimes, like a little mini mint floss or a floss container to put in like line and just a couple hook sinkers, just for like a minimalist fishing kit if you had to. So I've used those many times in the past. And so, basically in talking about this, this is just a few ideas about different things to put in your bag to procure different food sources and stuff. So it's not always about hunting and foraging, even though they're very good. Sometimes you have to go fishing, or maybe you have to try to rein in birds. and do different, methods to catch them. And sometimes you can fish for birds almost the same as you do for fish in the water. Is you just kind of put the hooks on land and you put bait that attracts, birds and so forth. So hopefully this gives you some ideas of different types of thoughts of what should go into your kit, especially if it's more of an emergency pack. And these things don't take up just a little bit of room. This thing only probably weighs maybe like 4 or 5 ounces, fully loaded down. It probably weighs a little bit more than most because I have a very small multi-tool to cut the line and to, if I lost everything and this is all I had, I need something to process the fish. So I have just a little blade and a little line cutter. And so anyways, I'd be, excited to hear about how you put your kits together or what kind of containers. And as always, thanks for all the support, and we'll catch you real soon.